Once again, before I progress, I'm delighted to welcome you all to the 2024 edition of our annual 3-day Made in Nigeria exhibition. Our Made in Nigeria products exhibition provides the opportunity for showcasing the undeniable high quality and diversified products manufactured in Nigeria here. Our gathering here is not only to discuss the state of our manufacturing, but to celebrate the resilience of the Nigeria manufacturers.
Today, I stand before you to address a critical issue that demands our immediate attention and concerted action. That is the imperative of an intentional development of the Nigerian manufacturing sector in an era of economic downturn. We need a comprehensive, intentional approach to developing our manufacturing sector. This approach must be rooted in sound policies, strategic investment, and unwavering commitment from both the public and the private sector. Let us commit to the intentional, strategic development of our manufacturing sector. Together, we can turn this era of economic challenge into an opportunity for transformation and growth. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to declare this 3-day Made in Nigeria exhibition open in honor and in appreciation to Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, then for the development and growth, I mean accelerated growth of our manufacturing sector, and to the glory of God, we declared this exhibition open.
Our esteemed exhibitors, you are the reason why we are here. You have shown true allegiance to the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. You have shown the resilience that we are made for. We thank you so much for being wonderful exhibitors, for following us year in, year out, and ensuring that you uphold this great association that is the biggest membership organization in Africa. We thank you, and we thank you. Going forward, let the message be put out there that it is a patriotic duty for each and every one of us. It is an informed decision for you to patronize what is made in Nigeria. As you will have seen, we are advancing in spite of the daunting challenges that we have. And it's only with this resilience, with this belief in our economy that we can drive it. So on behalf of the President, once again, I would like to thank you for coming and to say that together we will make Nigeria great again. Thank you so much for coming. Better days are ahead. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Presidential Fertilizer Initiative. Indorama Fertilizer will ensure the future of Nigerians for years to come through the growth and development of the nation's agricultural sector. The future of Nigeria is agriculture. The future of agriculture is Indorama. Indorama Fertilizers is a subsidiary of Indorama Group, a multi
Nigeria, the land of abundant natural beauty, culture, and limitless opportunities, a nation of 200 million smiles. The African Industries Group is a diversified conglomerate based out of Nigeria and is committed to its socio-economic growth and industrial development.
African Industries Group is a full of baskets of so many amazing products that is a must in every household in Nigeria.
African Industries is a pioneer in business and undoubtedly a market leader across its multiple business verticals in Nigeria, and it's expanding its presence globally as a diversified exporter.
African Industries considers employees as the most valuable assets, giving everyone an opportunity to grow.
The group is bringing smiles and hope to millions of Nigerians, while contributing to the economic growth and the future of Nigeria.
Once again, before I progress, I'm delighted to welcome you all to the 2024 edition of our annual 3-day Made in Nigeria exhibition. Our Made in Nigeria products exhibition provides the opportunity for showcasing the undeniable high quality and diversified products manufactured in Nigeria here. Our gathering here is not only to discuss the state of our manufacturing, but to celebrate the resilience of the Nigeria manufacturers.
Today, I stand before you to address a critical issue that demands our immediate attention and concerted action. That is the imperative of an intentional development of the Nigerian manufacturing sector in an era of economic downturn. We need a comprehensive, intentional approach to developing our manufacturing sector. This approach must be rooted in sound policies, strategic investment, and unwavering commitment from both the public and the private sector. Let us commit to the intentional, strategic development of our manufacturing sector. Together, we can turn this era of economic challenge into an opportunity for transformation and growth. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to declare this 3-day Made in Nigeria exhibition open in honor and in appreciation to Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, then for the development and growth, I mean accelerated growth of our manufacturing sector, and to the glory of God, we declare this exhibition open.
Our esteemed exhibitors, you are the reason why we are here. You have shown true allegiance to the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. You have shown the resilience that we are made for. We thank you so much for being wonderful exhibitors, for following us year in, year out, and ensuring that you uphold this great association that is the biggest membership organization in Africa. We thank you, and we thank you. Going forward, let the message be put out there that it is a patriotic duty for each and every one of us. It is an informed decision for you to patronize what is made in Nigeria. As you will have seen, we are advancing in spite of the daunting challenges that we have. And it's only with this resilience, with this belief in our economy that we can drive it. So on behalf of the President, once again, I would like to thank you for coming and to say that together we will make Nigeria great again. Thank you so much for coming. Better days are ahead. Thank you so much. Thank you.
TerraCube, unwrap joy, unleash taste.
The world needs mums.
very pleased to have you at the final day of the 3-day exhibition and, of course, the third day of the annual general meeting of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. We started on a very high note on Tuesday. We had an excellent time yesterday. And to the glory of God, we are wrapping up something so important and dear to us today. And I want to assure you that everything we do today would be certainly value for time. We sincerely appreciate you and thank you for being very, very punctual. Now, we will do something very significant this morning, and I want you to play along with me. Now, usually, when you want to introduce yourself, you probably would say, good morning, I'm the MD of ABC Company, I'm the CEO, I'm the CFO, I'm the DG of this. But we won't be doing that. So you are going to introduce yourself to the person seated to your right and to your left, describing what you do in one sentence. So let's do a test run for you. Hi, Nanzin. My name is Omotayo. I create memories for a living, and I help to create public image for individuals, corporate bodies, and for products generally. So did we get that? So you are describing yourself to the person and not necessarily saying you are the MD of this. So Nancy, could you introduce yourself to me?
Thank you, Moti. And then from her description, I think I can guess you are the PRO for man.
All right,
or
great.
You are a public image maker for an organization.
Right, so
let me
yourself.
try. My name is Nanzin Remdan. I'm a chief administrator, and I drive the policy and advocacy for businesses in Oyo, Osun, Ondo, and Ekiti states.
All right, so that's a good try. All right, so could we see you do that to your neighbor? Just introduce yourself, describing what you do to the person seated. If nobody is seated close to you, please, you could stand from your seat and just introduce yourself. Let's do that very quickly.
Good luck.
And if you need ChatGPT to help you do that, you could quickly Google.
So people need help going online to find out who they are. You can describe yourself, I believe.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, the reason why I had to do that is because as manufacturers, we are solution providers, we are problem solvers, and sometimes we are not very conscious of how much value we bring to the economy. And so it's good for us to remind ourselves that beyond being an MD, this is the solution I bring to the fore. If you are into furniture manufacturing, you help create the mood and create people's experiences with the furnitures that you provide. So this is what you do, and we indeed value you for all the contributions you bring to the world. Having said that, can we please put your hands together for ourselves? Please, let's put our hands together for ourselves, because if we do not celebrate ourselves, the world really would not know how much value we bring to the fore. All right, before I just go to acknowledge our dignitaries, in fact, everyone seated in this room, we value you, we thank you, and we're indeed very happy to have you. But we'll just mention a few just because of our time. For those who are coming to this hall for the first time, this hall has three exits, basically. We have one on my immediate left, another one on the near left, and the last one on the extreme left. And so if you'd like to use the convenience, there is the convenience just by the immediate left. You find the gents and the ladies. And to avoid distractions and any form of distractions, really, during the course of the event, would like for you to kindly put your phones on silence or vibration mode so as not to disrupt the flow of the event. We are very intentional, as our team says, imperatives of intentional development of the Nigerian manufacturing sector. So first, I'd like to acknowledge a very intentional man who intentionally appears in the white attire and is one loved by many. Please put your hands together for the President, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Otumbe Francis Meshoye, OFR.
You are highly welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. We are happy to have you. All right, sir. And next, on the acknowledgement list, I'd like to acknowledge the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy. And he's here represented by the Director from the Finance Ministry. Please, a round of applause for Director Technical Service, Federal Ministry of Finance, Bashir Abdulkadir.
We appreciate
Thank you
your
so
presence,
much.
sir.
We appreciate
You're welcome.
you. You're welcome. And moving on, We have former presidents in our midst, and we are always delighted to have them. First, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of former president who was with us in the room yesterday, and we are glad that he's here with us yesterday. Former President, Ambassador Hassan Adamu, Wakili Adama. Please, a round of applause for him. Ambassador Hassan Adamu, CON.
All your regality.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you. And so I just want to state ahead that this is in no particular order. So please, we're not clearly following that. So let's just acknowledge them so that we can save time. Next up, I have the honor of acknowledging another former president, and we are very pleased to have him in our midst. Please, a round of applause for Engineer Manso Ahmed, OFR. Thank you so much for sparing your time to be with us. So I move on to this point, and I have the honor of acknowledging a one-time Minister of Industry, a former president of this association. Please, distinguished guests, put your hands together for Chief Kola Jamodu.
You're very welcome, sir.
CFR. Well, it's not so bad if you have a GCON, but for now, CFR. Please, a round of applause for him as well. And next to a former president, I am deeply delighted to welcome the honorary treasurer of this great association. Please put your hands together for Reverend Isaac Agoye. Thank you so much. And close to the honorary treasurer is the director general of this association. A round of applause for Shegun Ajayi Kadri, MNI.
You're most welcome, sir.
You're most welcome, sir. And to the back, we have, I want to be sure, is this Indian or Egypt? All right, thank you so much. So I have the honor of acknowledging the presence of the head of the Egyptian Commercial Office in Lagos. A round of applause for Mr. Amer Atlantway. A round of applause for him. Thank you so much.
Sir.
We're happy to have you. And seated close to him, but not immediately, is the Director General of the Raw Materials Research Development Council, Professor Ian Lego Martin Ikemonso. Thank you so much. We're happy to have you. And behind the president of this association is our own and also a friend of the house. He's no other person than the president of NECA, that is the Nigeria Employment Consultative Association, Dr. Ifeanyi Okoye, MNI.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. You're very much welcome. And also, just 2 seats after him is the Vice President, Lagos Zone of this great association. A round of applause for Prince Felix Oba Okoji.
You're most welcome, my VP,
Thank you so much. We're happy to have you, Mr. Vice President. And the Vice President, Kaduna Northwest of this association. A round of applause for Engineer Ilyas Sisale. Thank you so much. And seated close to him is the Vice President of the Eastern Zone. Please put your hands together for Engineer Chief G. Masari. Thank you so much. You're very much welcome. As we get all the names, we will do well to acknowledge our distinguished guests. But thank you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for being a part of this very, very wonderful event. We are indeed happy to have you. Having said that, please let's kindly be on our feet.
And we'll take the national anthem at this moment.
I'm so sorry. How could I have forgotten? Now, the reason why we are gathered is to listen to the guest lecture, right? And so we save the very best for the last. Distinguished guests, let's put our hands together for the Executive Director and Chief Investment Officer of the African Finance Corporation, Sameh Shinoda. A round of applause for him. Thank you so much. Is here representing our distinguished guest speaker. Why he's not here, the Director General will do further explanation, but we are indeed very happy to have you. And we look forward to your lecture, actually. So please, let's be on our feet now as we take the national anthem to start the program. you. Please have your
Amen.
seat. God bless Nigeria and God bless the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. The representative of the Honorable Minister, Federal Ministry of Finance, and the Coordinating Minister of the Economy, the President of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, members of the Executive Committee, members of the National Council, manufacturers in the room, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
All right, thank you. I was waiting for that feedback. And just in case I make further mistake, just blame it on the excitement. It's the third day, and so we're allowed to be so happy for a successful event which started on Tuesday, and we're having the grand finale today. At this point, Nanzin would tell us what will come in next, and we move on with other items.
Thank you, Montayo. And thank you for being a wonderful audience. At this point, not to waste much time, we'll just call on our very own president, Otumba Francis Meshoe, to give his welcoming address. Thank you.
A round of applause.
Please, a round of applause as he walks off stage. Thank you.
We equally fully understand the circumstances surrounding the absence of Mr. President, who only just returned to the country after his working leave. Mr. Vice President will have represented him, who spent so much time with us when we had a summit, very long hours, not less than 3 hours at a row. But now currently in abroad, representing the President at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. These two events mitigate the presence of these important dignitaries at this very occasion. And the Honorable Minister was in constant communication with us, me in particular up to yesterday night and this morning, to tender his apology for not being able to attend. I appreciate the presence of the representative of the representative of the Minister of Finance, representative of the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy and the Minister of Budget and National Planning, Alhaji Bashir Abkadri, the Director of Technical in the Ministry of Finance. We welcome you very warmly. We appreciate you. Let me seize this occasion to thank you for the tremendous efforts you have put in the past years, or will I say decades, in really pursuing the interests of manufacturing business in Nigeria. We really appreciate it and commend your effort. Our distinguished guest speaker, Mr. Samaila Subairu, President and Chief Executive of Africa Finance Corporation, duly represented by the ED Chief Investment Officer, Mr. Samed Chinoda. Good morning and you're welcome. We welcome our special guests of honor, other special guests from all diplomatic corps and international community here present. We welcome you very much warmly. Let me quickly appreciate the presence of my, how will I put them? Sometimes ago, did I say leaders, torch bearers, or the patrons who really have been a short torch bearer of this great and noble association. They were the past presidents of this association who saw it coming as it was growing and who have really been presided over this association when things were really tough and have served not only here in other portfolios in the country. I want to recognize our very own people, starting from Alhaji Ambassador Hassan Adamu, the Wakili of Adamawa, CON. Good morning, sir, and you're welcome. Please let me give him a round of applause. I appreciate you supporting us immensely from the past years too. They were coming around yesterday to give a toast to my humble award. Thank you very much. Please be seated, sir. I will recognize, of course, the very one who fought so much when we were about to have EPA, who understood the importance of industries, and particularly manufacturing sector in the state of economy. Then when the ministry was called Ministry of Trade and Commerce, who fought that no, trade and commerce will be fine, but if we are trading and doing your commerce without manufacturing base, what do you have? Then you'll be only import-oriented. He fought so much and saw the name change from the Minister of Trade and Finance to Federal Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment. It's no person than a very able past minister of that ministry and president of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, our Chief Kola Jamodu, CON, CFR. You're very much welcome, sir. You thank everybody. In my culture, it's not only recognizing those who have done in the past, because we believe in that in Yoruba culture. You are taught to even recognize the one who handled over the mantle unto you, and who has served very much graciously under his administration as chairman of Finance and Establishment Committee. The part of my 8 years of that committee, I sat 4 years under him. Kindly help me give a round of applause to our very own engineer, Ismail Ahmed Mansour, OFR. You are very much welcome, sir. I thank you immensely for the work you have done, because you are standing on the platform, standing on the shoulder of the giants. That's why you're able to make little stride you are making. We count on your support. We appreciate your presence. My speech is very short, but I'll still give honor to very many people who are due. I may not go so far, but I'll go very little as far as I can. I've been on the council of NECA for many years, and I've served about 12 years on that council. It is just apt that I will recognize the one who really head that association, who is among the OPSN, and very own who has been vice president of this association, my very good brother, Chief Dr. Ifeanyi Okoye, OFRMNI. You're very much welcome. Don't worry, it was excitement. We still had breakfast together today, and my very, very good brother and friend. You're welcome. I welcome other OPSN present here, the DGs from various OPSN group, and others, my VPs, the Executive Council members of MAN, all council members, dignitaries, all manufacturers here present, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and you're welcome. Good morning. I'm delighted to welcome you all to the 4th Adeola Odutola lecture and presidential launch, being the climax of the activities marking the 52nd Annual General Meeting of Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, the leading sector-specific business membership organization in Africa. On behalf of the National Council and members of MAN, I would like to thank Mr. President for accepting our invitation, who was in rapport with us, like I said, for some time. And I'm happy that you have the representative of the financier who are aptly representing the government here. Your Excellency, may I use this opportunity to thank you immensely for the tremendous support we received from the presidency during our 3-day Nigeria Manufacturer Summit at the State House in the month of July. We thank you for this tremendous support, because it was a 3-day summit, and during that 3 days, you showed us support throughout the period through the office of Mr. Vice President and other government dignitaries that will really grace the occasion. Most gratifying is the evidence that has been taken to implement some of the recommendations of the summit. One is the commencement of the disbursement of the 75 billion long-term single-digit loans to manufacturers. We also thank you. Yeah, you can give a round of applause if you want to. It should be a materialization. We equally thank you for the suspension of the price verification portal. The well-thought-out tax reliefs and exemptions recently extended to manufacturers, to mention but a few. Clearly, you're being presented here today reassures manufacturers of your unwavering commitment to development of manufacturing in Nigeria and your readiness to deepen conversation and consultations with a sector that is strategic to the actualization of the mandate of your ministry. Mr. President, and the representative of the Ministry of Finance, thereby representing the government, may I tell you that MAN is ready to formally discuss other contents of the Manufacturer Summit report, which with you at your LS convenience. We have been seeking appointment with the Office of the President so that we can have another dialogue consequent to the outcome of the summit that we have. We are eager to see the commencement of the implementation of the other recommendations before the end of this year. Incidentally, the consensus implementation of the report of the summit will prove central to the actualization of your renewed hope agenda. It is a sure way to ameliorate the prevailing low productivity, high unemployment rate, and foreign exchange-related challenges limiting economic growth. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in extending a very warm welcome to the distinguished guest speaker that will deliver the fourth Adeola Odutola lecture. That's a warm welcome. He's a renowned investment banker, a quintessential finance expert, the President and Chief Executive Officer of African Finance Corporation, who is ably represented here. He has conveyed his deep regrets for his inability to be physically present here today, but has been sent most qualified and fit for the duty representative, Mr. Samuel Shinoda, Executive Board Member and the Chief Investment Officer of the African Finance Corporation. We deeply appreciate the great efforts. You can never appreciate him too. Yeah. We deeply appreciate the great efforts you have made regarding delivering today's lecture and the opportunity to benefit from your very rich experience in economic development and infrastructure finance. I am delighted by the presence of my co-leaders of the OPSN, particularly the president of NECA, who I just mentioned, the chairman of NESG, Mr. Olani Yusuf, the president of LCCI, Mr. Grebe Edahoza, FCA. Your show of solidarity is exemplary, and I thank you for joining us today. Similarly, I have the singular honor to acknowledge the presence of our valued international development partners, members of the diplomatic corps, director and head of ministries here, department and agency of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and distinguished members of business community. Let me, as I'm recognizing the presence of others, thank the former Director General of MAN, our own Jide Mike, who has been here since the beginning of these events. Thank you so much for your support. Our eminent scholars here present and gentlemen of the press, I appreciate you. You have all been named in person, but a dutiful master of ceremony have duly acknowledged you better than I do. But I just have to mention this to show that I really appreciate everyone who has bothered to come at this occasion and the great work that the press have been doing for us in the past years. It's been very wonderful, and even publishing, telling the whole world about this event. We appreciate you. It is just one more thing I will do before I leave this stage, and to just set the context for our able guest speaker to go ahead with. Globally, manufacturing business has been the cornerstone of economic development in industrialized economies, contributing significantly to employment, wealth creation, and technological advancement. Countries such as China, Brazil, South Africa, Singapore, and Malaysia have demonstrated that a thriving manufacturing sector can transform economies by creating jobs, fostering innovation, and improving the balance of trade. In Africa, manufacturing is pivotal to the actualization of our AFCTA and other development aspirations of most countries, offering a pathway for enduring economic diversification and transformation of their natural endowments into consumer and capital goods, rather than exporting them the way they are, digging and sending. In Nigeria, this very important sector manufacturing sector has not realized its full potential due to multitude of operational, structural, and policy-induced challenges, making its contribution to GDP to oscillate and now hovering around 8%, which is very, very low compared to what it was been in the past when it was considered not performing enough. Over the years, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this sector has suffered from policy inconsistency that have created an unstable business environment. Frequent charges in tariffs, taxes, and industrial regulations have made the long-term planning difficult for businesses operating in this environment. This has been reducing investor confidence and stalling the growth of the manufacturing sector. Clearly, the status of manufacturing, which is far from the expected, underscores the need for intentional development of manufacturing in Nigeria through the introduction of comprehensive and integrated policy support that will scale productivity, stimulate growth, and enhance competitiveness of the sector. One of the critical steps toward intentional development of manufacturing and maximizing the potential of the sector is the formulation and the implementation of consistent and supportive government policies that will address majority of the familiar challenges limiting the performance of the sector. Thus, it informed the decision to have the theme of this lecture and this AGM. It is the full understanding of this and of the moment that necessitates us crafting it in that manner that we need to really have a theme that will speak to the imperative of an intentional development of the Nigeria manufacturing sector. Therefore, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before the guest speaker delivers the annual lecture, it is expedient that I again enumerate top 5 challenges responsible for the lackluster performance of the manufacturing sector. This includes elevated interest, inflation and exchange rates, an unfriendly operating environment, high-cost energy, evidenced by the 250% increase in electricity tariff, among others, the cost of diesel and the rest like that, AGU and the rest like that. Multiple regulation and massive burden, particularly of unsettled $2.5 billion for contracts by the CBN. Others include the historical dearth of basic infrastructure that you can see all over, connecting strategic economic hubs within industrial zone from one to another. High level of insecurity, large scale of smuggling and counterfeiting, high import cost of raw materials, spares and machines that are not available locally, and more particularly, low patronage of made in Nigeria products by the government due to the absence of structured monitoring and evaluation frameworks that ensure full compliance to the provisions of Executive Order 003 and 005. Your Excellency, guest speaker, industrial leaders, ladies and gentlemen, these challenges and others have limited the performance of the manufacturing sector. Manufacturers are expectant that the governments will put forward all recommendations are put forward to the government will be attended to so that you have resolution to these problems. And so that if they're fully implemented, the manufacturer will come again and be able to smile and contribute their quota to the growth of our economy. If this is done, it will significantly improve the competitiveness of the sector, increase contribution to the GDP, enable better, more job creation, as well as overall development of the economy, and make it easier for government to manage the very well scarce forex, which is called dollars and co. In conclusion, I would like to emphasize the following key points: that it is imperative that our focus as a nation must go beyond maintaining the economic systems and focus on ramping up production capacities. This is the most assured way to overcome most of the economic challenges that have negative trickle-down effects on other social and macroeconomic indicators. I humbly submit, with every sense of responsibility, that the attainment of the ambition of government to increase the economy to $1 trillion worth depends critically on intentional development of the manufacturing sector. It is only then that steady and inclusive economic growth can be assured. It is only then that we can move over 133 million Nigerians out of multi-dimensional poverty. It is then that we can write our story of being labeled the poverty capital of the world and turn our country to a conducive environment for prosperity and improved well-being of a citizen. Your Excellency, distinguished guest speakers, leaders, ladies and gentlemen, for this note, I welcome you once again to this the last 3 days, and the lecture, Adeola Odutola lecture of our AGM. I thank you for listening and wish you fruitful and inspiring lecture session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. The applause is too cold. Let's please put your hands together once again for the president. Thank you so much. We appreciate you, sir. All right, when we started, I told you that we would have more people to acknowledge. We didn't intentionally skip the name. We're just trying to maximize time and ensure that we get value for our engagement here. And so, distinguished guests, I have the honor of acknowledging the presence of the representative of the Executive Governor of Cross River State. In our midst, we have the Honorable Commissioner for Ministry of Commerce, Cross River. Please, round of applause for Dr. Mrs. Abigail Duke Orok. Thank you so much, Ma. We appreciate you. And we love the fact that you are adornedly dressed in Made in Nigeria fabric. Thank you so much. In our midst also, the President has done well to acknowledge 1 or 2 former Director Generals. I'll just do well to acknowledge some of them. And each time we have them in our midst, we remember all of the sacrifices they made to ensure that the association is what it is today. In this room, we have in our midst former Director General Olayinka Konde. A round of applause for him. Thank you so much. We value your presence. Also, we have Mr. Rashid Adigbenro. A round of applause for him. We also have our distinguished Mr. Jide Mike. Please, a round of applause for Mr. Jide Mike. Mr. Jide Mike, where are you? Where is he? All right. Okay, he was here earlier. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. And also, we have somebody who was the first person that was employed by the executive officer of MAN when MAN was starting at the very beginning. Please give a resounding applause to Mr. Tunji Olajide. Before we were born. Thank you so much, sir. We deeply appreciate your presence. And also we have here in our midst the DG Nasima. DG Nasima. Please put your hands together for Mr. Obadimo. Thank you so much, Mr. Shola Obadimo. We appreciate you. As we get more names, I'll do well to acknowledge our guests because they came from far and near, and it's indeed just on the least we can do is just to mention their name and appreciate them. So we quickly go to goodwill messages. We have about 4 of them. And in 3 to 5 minutes, they would all give their goodwill messages. The first I'd like to invite to deliver a goodwill message is the Director General, RMRDC. Please put your hands together for Professor Ike Monso as he comes forward to give his goodwill message. A round of applause for him.
Good morning, the President, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Otumba Francis Meshaye Oafari, past presidents of the association, Director General of MAN, and all past Director Generals, please permit me to stand on the well-established protocol. It is with immense pleasure that the Raw Materials Research and Development Council extends its warmest congratulations to the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria on the occasion of its 52nd Annual General Meeting and the 4th Adeola Odutola Lecture. We salute MAN's unwavering dedication to the growth of the Nigerian manufacturing sector. Your resilience and innovation in the face of economic challenges are commendable. The theme of this year's lecture, the imperative of intentional development of the Nigerian manufacturing sector in an era of economic downturn, is both timely and thought-provoking. It aligns perfectly with my council's commitment to fostering a sustainable and competitive industrial base in Nigeria through better access to raw materials. As a strategic partner, the RMRDC appreciates its critical role in supporting MAN. Over the years, we have worked collaboratively to ensure that manufacturers have access to the raw materials they need to remain competitive. However, in reviewing the quality of our past relationship, we recognize that more must be done, and we are determined to enhance this collaboration to better meet our shared objectives. This commitment is not just a promise, but an obligation embedded in our statutory responsibilities. In line with this renewed dedication, my council has developed strategic initiatives to position the Nigerian manufacturing sector for long-term competitiveness and sustainability. The first among that is promoting value addition to exported raw materials. We have started and are working closely with the National Assembly to push forward legislation that will require a minimum of 30% value addition on all raw materials exported from Nigeria. This, as a matter of fact, we expect the second reading to happen today. So we expect that by the end of today, because it's already gone for the first reading, and today, maybe to pass through the second reading. This will curb the export of unprocessed raw materials, encourage local manufacturing, and catalyze massive job creation. By enhancing the value of exports, we anticipate a significant improvement in manufacturers' competitiveness, increased employment, and the stabilization of the Naira through reduced import dependency. 2, restricting imports of locally available raw materials. In tandem with the Value Addition Bill, the Council is advocating for policies that restrict the importation of raw materials abundantly available within Nigeria. This complementary initiative will ensure that the manufacturing sector can maximize the use of indigenous resources, reduce foreign exchange outflows, and further stimulate local production and utilization of our natural resources. To make this work, the third is robust raw material management information system. To support these efforts, the RMRDC has developed in the past 4 months a comprehensive raw material management information system. This platform covers critical raw materials across agriculture, solid minerals, and the energy resources, providing essential technical and investment data. The system offers insights into volumes, characteristics, location, pricing trends, and potential challenges such as security risk and other fiscal issues affecting that are of interest to both researchers, manufacturers, investors, entrepreneurs that are interested in raw materials. With this tool, manufacturers and investors will have access to real-time information allowing them to plan better and unlock new opportunities. 4, establishment of advanced laboratories across Nigeria. Recognizing the importance of research and testing, the Council has partnered with global leaders in raw material testing to set up 17 cutting-edge laboratories in Lagos, Port Harcourt and Kano, Abuja. These laboratories will focus on advanced research, certification and testing of raw materials, ensuring Nigerian manufacturers have access to internationally recognized standards. The 5th one is the 10-year roadmap with the African Development Bank. Given the challenges of funding and technical expertise, the RMRDC is collaborating with the African Development Bank to co-create and implement a 10-year institutional strengthening roadmap. This partnership will not only strengthen the Council's capacity to deliver on its mandate, but also attract additional investments and development support from international partners to drive this agenda. To better align our efforts with the needs of Nigerian manufacturers, the RMRDC and the MAN have commenced joint work across 10 key manufacturing sectors. This collaboration includes a nationwide multidisciplinary data collection exercise aimed at understanding the raw material utilization capacity of manufacturers alongside other challenges that are of mutual interest. The insights from this exercise will guide targeted interventions, ensuring that our efforts are demand-driven and aligned with sector-specific needs. In conclusion, we are optimistic that these initiatives will yield transformative outcomes for the manufacturing sector. The RMRDC remains committed to ensuring that Nigerian manufacturers thrive and achieve global competitiveness by unlocking the full potential of local raw materials. With deeper collaboration and shared vision between the Council and MAN, we are confident that together we will navigate the current economic downturn and emerge stronger. We thank the leadership of MAN for its visionary guidance, and we reaffirm our commitment to being a steadfast ally in the pursuit of industry growth and prosperity. Once again, congratulations on this milestone AGM, and we look forward to an even stronger partnership in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for a wonderful goodwill message here, as well delivered. The strategic importance of raw materials cannot be overemphasized. And please, we would like to give you another round of applause for such a wonderful message. At this juncture, I'd like to recognize two of our strategic partners also, the Director General of the Nigerian Textile Manufacturers Association, Alhaji Hama Kwajafa. Please, where you are. You're welcome, sir. Another powerful partner I would like to introduce or recognize his presence is Mr. Shayo Olumide. He's the Associate Vice President, Investment from the African Finance Corporation. Please, a round of applause for him. You're welcome, sir. On this note, we will have to take another goodwill message, and this is coming from the Federal Ministry of Finance, and we will be welcoming the Director of Technical Services, Mr. Bashir Abdul Kadir. Please, a round of applause as he comes up stage.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here representing the the Honorable Minister of Finance and the Coordinating Minister for the Economy, who would have loved to be present this morning, but he's leading the Nigerian delegation to the annual meeting of the World Bank in Washington, so he's not here this morning. But of course, because of the significance he attaches to the Nigerian manufacturing sector, he has asked me to represent him this morning. So standing on existing protocol, I would like to say that it is both an honor and privilege for me to be part of this year's annual meeting of this noble body, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. The association has always been a dependable ally of government and partner in development. So there is no gainsaying the fact that the association serves as a central advocacy group representing the concerns of the Nigerian manufacturing sector. The pivotal place of this association in our body policy informed the decision of the minister to be part of the event this year with the theme, the imperative of an intentional development of the manufacturing sector in Nigeria. Thus, today, the engagement with the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria would roll back to the 3 months ago meeting, which was held in Abuja and organized by the Office of the Vice President with the team Rethinking Manufacturing in Nigeria. At that event, I reiterated our commitment to improving Nigeria's macroeconomic environment, enhancing the ease of doing business, and addressing critical areas such as integrating environmental, social, and governance principles into our manufacturing practices. I reminded everyone then that the government is fully aware of the challenges facing the manufacturing sector in Nigeria and pledged our continued support in alleviating these challenges, including improved access to capital, automation of the import duty exemption certificate process, policy incentives for manufacturers and assemblers of completely knockdown / semi-knockdown components, trade facilitation, curbing unfair competition from foreign goods, and boosting consumer credit to stimulate aggregate demand, among several other initiatives. Today, I am here to continue on that path to strengthen our engagement and boldly declare further progress in our efforts to support Nigerian manufacturing. While determined to do so, I must emphasize that this is not a quest that only government can achieve. We must all join hands to do this by promoting Nigerian-made products, both domestically and internationally, expanding our market reach and improving our export potential would allow us to capture economic values that is often lost when we export raw materials to the benefits of other countries. Thus, deliberately growing the manufacturing sector to achieve meaningful development and sustainable transformation of the Nigerian economy requires a strategic approach focused on improving infrastructure, enhancing access to capital, creating a favorable policy environment, fostering innovation and technology, building a skilled workforce, and promoting local content. We must focus on re-strategizing and committing to building a robust manufacturing base that can spur job creation, enhance our domestic value chains, reduce our dependence on imports for products we can produce locally, and strengthen Nigerians' position in the international market. The manufacturing sector is one of the largest employers in the country and holds significant potential to contribute substantially to the government revenue, the gross domestic product, and national development. I'm particularly excited about the degree of innovation and industrial diversity on display in the exhibition hall, showcasing the resilience and growth of our manufacturers. It is important that we build on this resilience and strengthen the sector to enhance its competitiveness. We must intensify efforts to foster innovation and create greater opportunities for the manufacturing of capital goods, which are critical to scaling up Nigeria's industrial sector. As mentioned earlier, increased patronage of locally made products, both by the government and private individuals, is essential to the growth of our local industries. We must encourage our manufacturers to remain in business by patronizing their products. Having a vibrant manufacturing sector will enable Nigeria to become a net exporter of finished goods rather than a perpetual importer. The government, the private sector, and other relevant stakeholders must collectively create a supportive atmosphere for the sector to thrive. I especially thank MAN leadership for its exceptional role and concerted effort in continuously engaging with the government on advancing the manufacturing sector. We must sustain this collaboration and partnership for the prosperity of our nation. Our new course of action focuses on deepening and implementing industrial supportive fiscal policies to stimulate manufacturing growth. This approach recognizes the strong economic performance which can be achieved if industries face an overwhelming tax burden, as they are the backbone of sustainable economic growth and development. We are prioritizing the implementation of a well-structured tax regime and providing more tax incentives and waivers for industries, particularly in manufacturing. As part of the current economic stabilization plan, we remain committed to creating and maintaining a supportive environment for our businesses. I must also mention our collaborative efforts with the monetary authorities to ensure the proper and coordinated implementation of fiscal and monetary policies aimed at addressing the current economic challenges. As stated at the July 2024 Nigerian Manufacturers Summit at the State House in Abuja, the Federal Ministry of Finance is dedicated to supporting the manufacturing sector by improving the macroeconomic environment and ease of doing business. We will work closely with MAN and other stakeholders to accelerate the sector's performance and boost our economic fortunes. I still stand on this promise as I close my remark, and I also want to reiterate that the federal government remains committed to creating an environment where manufacturing sector can thrive. We will continue to consult, engage, and collaborate with you in developing policies that will drive industrial growth, create jobs, and improve the competitiveness of Nigerian products both locally and internationally. Once again, I thank you for inviting me to this important occasion, and I wish you successful deliberations at this annual general meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. The Director of Technical Service, representing the Honorable Minister of Finance. Thank you for that address by the Minister, Mr. Bashir Abdulkadri. Thank you so much. And I hope you know that you'll be coming back next time to speak to us more on, just after the guest speaker has spoken, on what the government has in store or what the ministry is really doing to ease the work of manufacturers. Please, distinguished guests, give a round of applause for him once again. All right, more messages from the government. Before I invite, I just would like to give a good warm greetings from the president of MAN. He actually said you gave him his word when he was in Calabar, and you said you were going to come, and is indeed glad that you made it here. So he's saying a big thank you to you, and he appreciates your presence. So distinguished guests, for the goodwill message, let's put our hands together for the Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Commerce, Cross River State, Dr. Abigail Duke Orok. A round of applause for her for the goodwill message. And after her, we'll have the president of NECA address us in the next few minutes. You're welcome.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Okay. I bring you greetings from the Kenyan city of Calabar. With due respect to the President of Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, past presidents present here, I want to rest on already well-established protocols. I've said good morning. I bring you felicitation from the governments and people of my dear states, Cross River States. I feel most privileged and delighted and honored to join you today, distinguished manufacturers, at this auspicious occasion of your 52nd annual general meeting. On behalf of the Cross River State government, I extend our warm congratulations to the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria for your steadfastness, your resilience, and unparalleled determination to triumph in spite of all odds. Your contributions to the Nigeria economy and the Nigeria's industrial development is undeniably second to none. Your efforts have greatly advanced local content development, job creation, and economic sustainability across the country. As you mark your 22nd annual general meeting with the theme, Imperatives of an International Development of the Nigerian Manufacturing Sector, there wouldn't have been a better theme than this, for it is only in being deliberate and intentional can obstacles be surmounted. In Cross River State, we recognize the vital role of the manufacturing sector in fostering economic growth. Our government is committed to working closely with the Manufacturers Association to create an enabling environment for industrial growth, especially in agro-processing and key industrial areas. We believe that through strengthened partnership, we can unlock even greater opportunities for our states and the nation Nigeria. Once again, I congratulate you all on this milestone and wish you a very successful and fruitful deliberations as you continue today. God bless you, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Please a round of applause for the elegant Honorable Commissioner from Cross River State. And we thank you and the Executive Governor for sending you through us at this event. And so we'll have the President of NECA address us in the next few minutes, our very own Dr. Ifeanyi Okoye, MNI. Please a round of applause for him as he comes forward. That applause is too cold for our very own. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I had actually wanted to knock on the DG of MAN, because I started wondering since yesterday whether he has already taken back the OFR the federal government gave me 12 years ago. And the MNI I had 21 years ago, but I thank the President for reminding them. Mr. President of MAN, I remember the past Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo described the President of MAN, Chief Kola Jabodu, as President with small p. So you remember the President with small p. Our past presidents, I'll say something. This, in recent times, should be the most qualitatively attended AGM of MAN, because we're having 3 past presidents with us here, and 3 past director generals. So I think it's the best attended. I will plead to stand on existing protocol. I'm standing here as the president of NECA. It's all about service. NECA, MAN, NASIMA, and others, we work symbiotically to deliver the economy of this country. In any reasonable country, the organized private sector is the nucleus of the economy of that country. And in this country, we are trying. I'm very glad that the representative of the finance minister is here. Few months ago, the president said, our own president, GCFR, Tinubu, he said he's removing import duty for some manufacturers. He specifically mentioned pharmaceutical manufacturers. But I'll tell you today, no pharmaceutical manufacturer has enjoyed that privilege. And it's just implementation. The president had a very good intention, beautiful strategy to get things going for Nigerians. But because of lack of guided implementation, which I will want to push to the ministries and customs, that his goodwill has not been implemented. But that notwithstanding, the essence of our being here is to get you to understand that we are with you as far as the progress in the development of the economy of this country is concerned. We are with you. And I thank man greatly because man actually leads well. Like I said, there is a strong symbiotic relationship between the organized private sector in this country. And for that, we shift the offices, and we all have that single goal, which I'm very grateful to man for pushing it very well. This is, like I said, one of the best AGMs I have attended, and I've been with man for over 30 years. So I thank you all for coming. I thank greatly the past presidents for coming, and I pray that things will continue to go the way we want it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Please, let's put your hands together for the distinguished Dr. Ifeanyi Okoye, MNI-OFR. Thank you so much. And also from the organized private sector, I have the honor of inviting the Director General of NASIMA. Please, a round of applause for Mr. Shola Obadimu for his goodwill message. Yes.
Your Excellencies here present, Mr. President, Otunba Francis Meshoye, the Council of Man, the Management of Man under the leadership of the TG, distinguished manufacturers, representatives of government here present, I say good afternoon. On behalf of NASIMA, which is the umbrella organization of about over 70 chambers of commerce scattered all over Nigeria, under the leadership of the current national president, Barrister Adeola Odutola. We are happy to felicitate with MAN on this 4th annual Adeola Odutola lecture as part of its 52nd annual general meeting activities. For our information, MAN is the current secretariat for the organized private sector. I think the president of NECA alluded to this, and it has been playing this pivotal role very well, very efficiently in the last 18 months. And we have to thank the leadership of all the OPS bodies for making themselves available for several intervention meetings with government representatives, ministers, and so on. They are sacrificing so much time on behalf of these associations to make sure that we confront our common problems frontally, particularly when it requires some efforts by government to listen to us, to make our industries grow, to increase the capacities of our productive sectors so that we could sustain our productive capacities, employ more people, pay more taxes to government. These are critical elements of the private sector that we have to sustain. So we thank the cooperation between the 5 OPS bodies in trying to make sure that despite everything, despite the circumstances of the present economy, we keep the hope alive to make sure that we achieve our objectives. Now, the advocacy part of our responsibility has been so strong of late, as I said earlier, and we have recorded some gains in that, going by the government decision to reverse its own decisions in some areas, expatriate levy, cybersecurity levy, and so on, just to make sure that cost of doing business does not unnecessarily balloon more than what we are currently witnessing in the face of increased tariffs and so on. These are challenging times for management of industries, as we all realize, but we must confront these evils frontally. This will bring out the best of management in us to make sure that we sustain our businesses in these challenging times. So, in conclusion, we celebrate with MAN again on this 4th Adeola Odutola lecture. And as has been said, this has been wonderfully organized in line with the tradition of MAN that I've always known. Congratulations once again.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shola Obadimo from NASIMA, and we're always happy to have you in our midst. Thank you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before we move on to the other major item on the program, I'd just like to acknowledge this last set of people. If we have more, I will do that before we close this event. In our midst, I'd like to acknowledge the senior partner, Bekatili Nigeria, Mr. Oluwole Ogundeji, who is in our midst. A round of applause for him. Mr. Oluwole Ogundeji. Also, I'd like to acknowledge the Zonal Coordinator Southwest Smedan, Olukayode Shode from Smedan. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. The Executive Secretary, Nasima Eke Yu Ubeji, thank you so much for joining us. And from NEPC, we have Mrs. Noye Ayene, the Executive Director, who we have Mr. Samson Idowu, actually, a director from NEPC representing the Executive Director NEPC. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you. I believe that is done for now. And so we move to the part where we all are waiting for, to listen to that very presentation with a theme which is very significant and has been the subject of conversation since we started with the first day. The theme is so instructive, and it gives for us to ruminate on what the future for the manufacturing sector is as we examine the imperatives of intentional development of the Nigerian manufacturing sector. The association was very intentional with the choice of guest speaker that we had to beckon on the African Finance Corporation to speak to us on this topic and see how we could deliberate on this together and possibly find a way forward for the manufacturing sector. So I have the honor of reciting the profile of our distinguished guest speaker. Of course, you were earlier notified that it's here represented, but so that you can relate well to who the guest speaker is, I'll just read his profile, after which I'll invite his representative to take us for the next few minutes today. Our distinguished guest speaker has championed African value capture, job creation, and industrialization, directing billions into transformative infrastructure over 3 decades. As president and CEO of the African Finance Corporation, AFC, for 6 years, he has doubled membership to 42 nations, tripled investment to $13.2 billion, including the largest renewable energy acquisition on the continent. It's grown total assets from $4.1 billion to $12.3 billion, and increased total comprehensive income to $327 million, despite the challenges of COVID-19 and the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Our distinguished guest lecturer or distinguished guest speaker at this event, under his leadership, the AFC has received numerous accolades, including Local Impact Champion at the 2023 Africa CEO Forum Awards, Equity Deal of the Year for the Infinity Energy, Equity Investment and Lekela Power Acquisition at the African Bankers Awards, and DFI of the Year for Europe and Africa at the Infrastructure Journal Global Awards. He has been honored actually as African CEO of the Year at the Asia One Magazine Awards for his visionary leadership. Now, as the pioneer CFO for Dangote Cement PLC, he has launched Africa's largest syndicated project finance facility and managed the unbundling of Dangote Industries Limited at AfriCapital of Dangote Limited. Now, at AfriCapital Management Limited, he partnered with AIIM to develop the Nigerian Infrastructure Investment Fund 1. Our distinguished guest lecturer co-chairs the World Economic Forum's network to mobilize investment for clean energy in the Global South. He is an NSWA Fellow and a Fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Nigeria. He holds a BSc in accounting from Ahmadu Bello University, one of the very wonderful universities after the University of Lagos. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor of inviting our distinguished guest speaker, who is here represented by someone who will deliver an excellent lecture at this event. Please put your hands together for the Executive Director and Chief Investment Officer, African Finance Corporation, Sameh Shinoda. A round of applause for him as he comes to represent our guest speaker at this event, Mr. Sumaila Zubairu. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. Mr. President of MAN, ex-President of MAN, Your Excellency, dignitaries, I stand on the usual protocol. I have a presentation to show you. I thought I was going to speak for 5 minutes, but then I was told I have to give a lecture. So I'm going to play the role of a lecturer, and I'm going to start by giving you a few figures that I want you to remember. Hold them in your head until I finish the presentation. Number one, this is how Nigeria ranked as an economy. It is the largest, in 2023, Nigeria was the largest economy in Africa. 477 billion is the size of the GDP of Nigeria in 2023. 240 million is the number of the size of the population in Nigeria. 60% of these 240 million people are under the age of 25. 4,000 megawatts is the current available power in Nigeria. 60% is the amount of food that perishes on the road because the infrastructure is not strong enough. So if you get a truck from a farm to get to the market in Lagos or Abuja or to the port, 60% of what is in that truck perishes just because there are no roads that are good enough. There's no cold storage infrastructure that is good enough for it. 40% of the roads in Nigeria are paved. The rest is not. 0.2% is the amount of investment in technology in Nigeria. For a developed country, the amount of R&D spent on technology is 3% of GDP. So more than 10 times what Nigeria is spending. So what I was trying to set the scene with is there are very positive figures, but there are also negative figures. So the question is, how do we bridge that gap as manufacturers in Africa generally and in Nigeria specifically? So I just want you to keep a few of these figures in your head so that you can understand the magnitude of the challenge, but also, more importantly, and this is how we look at it at AFC, the huge potential that is available. The way we see it at AFC is the glass is definitely half full. It is not half empty. And what I would like to show you today is our journey, our story, and how we can all be successful as Africans on the continent if we have the right ingredients to that success and if we are determined enough to make it a success. Not only the private sector, but the government as well. The financial institutions such as AFC, the policy makers, the politicians, the industrialists, the traders. So I'll walk you through our journey now that I've given you a bit of an introduction. This is split into three parts. One is the story of AFC and what we've done and where we are now. The type of investments that we have done, and then a bit of focus on Nigeria, including the manufacturing sector, but not limited to that. Because one of the important things that we all need to know is that the manufacturing sector cannot stand on its own. You need the whole ecosystem to work, whether it's the policy, the infrastructure, the labor, the quality of the labor, the technology that is there, the logistics, etc. So a quick introduction to Africa Finance Corporation for those of you who don't know it. Next slide, please. So I want to go back 17 years where His Excellency President Obasanjo looked at the state of Africa with a few other heads of states and said, there is a huge gap in infrastructure in Africa. We cannot grow as a continent and we cannot compete with the world if we don't bridge that infrastructure gap. So they decided to form a financial institution, the Africa Finance Corporation, and they said it's better to have an institution that is separate from the government that works on bridging the infrastructure gap. AFC was created 17 years ago. It was seeded by capital mostly from the Central Bank of Nigeria of slightly over $1 billion. We then grew the business, and over the last 17 years, our balance sheet has grown from $1.1 billion to $12.3 billion today. We started with 3 member countries. Now we have 43 member countries. We have invested $13.5 across different sectors in infrastructure in Africa. A lot of it is in Nigeria because Nigeria is our host country and our largest shareholders are from Nigeria. We are the second highest rated financial institution in Africa by Moody's with an A3 rating, and very recently we have been upgraded to a stable outlook. If we go to the next slide, please. So as I said, we have 43 member states, and for a country to become a member, what happens is that they give us immunities, protections, preference in getting foreign exchange, in expatriating our dividends, etc. And we have invested in 36 out of the 54 countries. So if you look at the map, we've covered around 80% of Africa in terms of our investments so far. Next slide, please. We can go to the next slide. I've covered that already. So as I said, our rating is an A3 rating from Moody's. Our outlook is stable, and Moody's is one of the top rating agencies in the world. And what they have said only 3 weeks ago when they reviewed our rating is that the affirmation of the A3 rating reflects AFC's significant liquidity buffer and access to diversified funding sources, as well as a diversified portfolio. Next slide, please. This is the construct. One of the most important things for any institution is how the governance is run. And at AFC, we're very proud to have a board with a number of committees, the president and CEO, who apologizes for not being here because he's also in Washington for the IMF meetings. I came specifically for this meeting. I was in London. I came here. I'm leaving tonight, going to Boston, because of the importance of this event for AFC. Because of the importance of this event and because of the importance of us connecting with the manufacturers of Nigeria so that we can support you to grow, to do more, and to expand outside the country if this is your strategy as well. If we go to the next slide, please. So we cover a number of sectors, as I mentioned, power, transport, heavy industries, natural resources, and telecoms and technology. And I'll walk you through the subsectors underneath all of these. But we cover them in a different, we could invest in debt, we could invest in equity, we could provide advisory services. We have also treasury functions. So we're a full-fledged financial institution that we don't see ourselves as a bank, we see ourselves as a solution provider. So when we sit with our client, we try to understand what are their challenges, what are they looking for, and we custom-made the solution, make the solution for them so that it helps them with what their priorities are. If we go to the next slide, please. So we cover a very wide range of sectors and subsectors. In natural resources, we cover oil, gas, transition metals, minerals, so anything that goes into battery minerals and anything that is related to the transition and the climate-related businesses, and then precious metals. We are proud to be the largest investor in the first and only private sector gold mine in Nigeria. In power, we cover renewable energy, gas to power transmission, and then industry, which is relevant to this event here today, beneficiation. So one of the challenges that we see in Africa, that Africa is endowed, we were just talking about this, with a lot of resources. What we are doing wrong is that we're exporting the raw material. Our challenge at AFC is how do we add 1, 2, 3 steps in the ecosystem, in the supply chain to capture value. Let me give you a small example. If you see an electric vehicle on the street, you have to imagine that 2% of that vehicle is coming from Africa, because Africa has 30% to 40% of copper, cobalt, lithium, all the ingredients that go into the battery. But the problem is that we export these raw materials all the way to China. China controls 80% of the electric vehicles manufacturing capacity in the world. The Chinese produce the electric car and sell it back to Europe and the US. From the mine until you build a car, there are 6 steps. The first step, which is mining, is 2 to 3%, which is what you see in the car as the African contribution. If you capture the first step 2 and 3, which is the refining of the product, and another step, you capture 40% of the value of the car. So we are very ambitious. We want to go all the way to producing an electric car. But let's start with the first 2 steps. If we only start with the first 2 steps, you capture 40% instead of 2 or 3%. What is happening now is effectively you get the product out, you export rock all the way to China, and then they send it back and they capture all the value. This applies to every single thing that we have here. We export gas, we export oil as crude. We are investors in 8 refineries in Africa, including the Dangote refinery, and we're proud of it. Everyone in Europe tells us you shouldn't invest in oil and gas, you should invest in renewable energy. What we say is we are endowed with raw materials in our countries. You have developed burning oil, burning gas, burning coal. We have the right to develop responsibly. We have the right to develop our own industries as well. So this is beneficiation. It's very dear to my heart, and it's very linked to what you all are doing. and we're really progressing that. My colleague Shayo here is here. He has a lot of business cards, so if you want to talk to him after that, then he's the right person to talk to, as well as myself and Lamide as well. Where is Lamide? She's there. Good. Refineries, we've talked about. Industrials and fertilizers, so we are investors in anything that is related to heavy industry. We're investors in sugar manufacturing, in refineries, in fertilizers, cement. So more than half of the logos that you see here are people that we are working with. Anyone who's related to infrastructure is a client of ours or is a partner of ours. Then we have telecoms and technology. One of the things that we realized when COVID happened is that we were all sitting at home and we were on Zoom and Teams calls, but then the rest of the continent is lagging behind in terms of connectivity, in terms of financial inclusion, etc. I'll give you also one example. I come from Egypt, and I feel that Egypt is a copy of even Lagos, and the chaos and the streets reminds me of Cairo. So I feel very nostalgic. But if you think about what we have gone through as the two largest economies, with South Africa maybe the third in Africa, is that a lot of our children, if you're old enough like me, have not seen anything but this. They have not seen a landline. The same thing is happening with banking. A lot of the people around you, even our age, my age, do not have a bank account. They do all their businesses from this. It's all digital financial inclusion, digital business. They don't have a bank account. So we jumped the step of landlines in Africa, in many countries, and we're also jumping the step of a bank account in Africa. And we cannot be, as AFC, a player on the continent without encouraging and developing the technology that goes behind growing our economies and having a digital economy. So that's why we are also prioritizing technology and telecoms. As I mentioned, you cannot have industry without infrastructure that supports it. Ports. We own 5 ports in West Africa, all of them in West Africa. We are the largest special economic zone owner through a company, Arise, and I have a video to show you after this on one special economic zone that we are building here in Nigeria that provides everything. It's a one-stop shop where you have the power, the water, the access to the airport, the access to the port, and we provide a solution to enable the manufacturing and industry sector to thrive. Food storage, I talked about it, about the perishable products, supply chain logistics, and then we also lend governments, which is probably not relevant here, but we have a sovereign lending business. And I'll give you a quick example of one significant transaction that we did. The Egyptian economy is going through a very difficult time, exactly like the Nigerian economy. Foreign exchange is under pressure, not a lot of exports, there's a war next door, and it was really struggling. The Egyptian government needed to borrow money to buy food and fuel for the population. They went to the Japanese market. The Japanese banks told them, we will lend you at 15% interest rate. What we have, when we worked with the Ministry of Finance in Egypt, what we said is, our rating, our A3 rating is higher than the country's rating. So what we will do is that we will provide a guarantee to the Japanese banks for $500 million, so that the Japanese banks take our risk, and then we will have a back-to-back guarantee, and we will take a risk of the risk of the Egyptian government. Instead of borrowing at 17%, they were able to borrow $500 million at 6%, because the Japanese banks were taking our risk. So that's also, these are the creative ways that we help our governments to develop and to be able to borrow at competitive rates. Next slide, please. Good. I'll walk you through a few examples of transactions that we've done. If we can go to the next slide, please. So one of the things that we're proud of that, and this is a proof to everyone in the room that success is possible in our markets. We call it the AFC first. So we are the first IPP of a renewable energy plant in Djibouti. We are the first people to fund the first private sector gold mine here in Nigeria. We are the first people to fund a sugar manufacturer, a large-scale sugar manufacturer here in Nigeria. So we are pioneers, we are pushing the boundary, and we invite you to work with us to do more together. Next slide, please. Good. So what this is, if you look at the diversification, obviously Nigeria is our host country, and the largest shareholder of our institution is the Central Bank of Nigeria. So you'll always find that the weight of our investments in Nigeria is higher than any other country, 24% last year, and then a very diversified portfolio across the rest of the continent with varying degrees. Obviously, this changes every year, but the constant is that we are a Pan-African institution, but we are hosted and based here in Nigeria, so we do more in Nigeria than any other place, but we are also investors in different parts of Africa. Next, please. The lady mentioned the awards that we've won. These are the awards that we have won internationally, globally recognized by the world community only in 2023. I'm not going to go through them. Next, please. And now I want to give you a few case studies. Infinity Energy is a renewable energy company that is based in Egypt. 4 or 5 years ago, we only invested in 2 power plants, 2 renewable energy power plants that were very small, and we have also made the decision, like we made the decision on the technology side to be a major player in technology. We decided to do the same in renewable energy. We invested into Infinity, which is owned by a prominent Egyptian family, the Mansour family, which actually operates here as well. Masdar from the UAE government is also a shareholder, and the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. We invested into 5 solar plants in Egypt, and then we acquired 7 wind farms across Africa. And now we are the largest renewable energy player in Africa. Quite a large company, over $1 billion, very successful and growing quite significantly. The thing that is really bothering me a bit is how can we be such a big institution and not have a lot of power investments in Nigeria where the need is huge? But I'll let you know what I think about that. Next, please. Djibouti wind farm. This is another wind farm in Djibouti where we felt that the European banks do not understand Africa. They will take 2-3 years to get to sit together and understand how to fund a project. So what we have done is that we said, fine, we will fund it. We will fund the whole project until construction, until we prove. They didn't even know where Djibouti was on the map. So we funded the whole project, we built it, and now that it's built and it's seen in reality, they're now queuing up to fund the project. So the creativity or to have the courage to do it ourselves and then to demonstrate the demonstration effect is extremely important. And I'm sure all of you are facing challenges in your businesses, but when people go and see something that is already built, even with the challenges that you have, people will say, how can I help you do more? Because you have demonstrated your success. And that's what we do as well. Next. This is a very interesting project as well. This has actually been grandfathered, let's say, by the US, by Biden himself. And I was in the US with the CEO only 2-3 weeks ago, and we signed the concession agreement. So Remember when I told you the car has 2% of the raw materials from Africa? Most of the raw materials of the critical minerals that go into the battery manufacturing is in the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Zambia, which is in the center of an area called Chingola. All of the raw materials are now exported to Tanzania and then to China. What we are doing here with the backing of the US government, the European Union, the Zambian DRC and Angolan government, is to build a railway line that takes the raw materials not only from to the east coast, but also to the west coast. Alongside that railway line, there will be a huge amount of industry in terms of refineries, in terms of adding value to the product, etc. This is going to be a $3-4 billion project, and it was, as I said, grandfathered by the US government, by the EU, and the African governments, but they are governments. They don't know how to develop a railway line. They looked and they found that the best entity to get this project done is the Africa Finance Corporation, and we're very proud to be the lead developer of that project. Next slide, please. Now, 2 slides on Nigeria, the way we see it, and the negative part, but where the opportunity is as well. And then I'll close by a few projects that we are involved in now. So one interesting thing is that if you look at these slides, you can literally remove the first word, Nigeria, and put Egypt. I am really amazed at how our 2 economies are exactly the same. The first one is the GDP growth, very heavily reliant on oil. One other figure I want you to remember is that 90% of the exports of Nigeria is oil. And the challenge is, how do we diversify that? And then on the right side is the GDP growth per sector. So the gray one is agriculture. I'm not sure you can see that. Sorry. Yes, and then manufacturing is the red one. So manufacturing growth has grown a bit in 2021, and then it's now flat. Trade has also grown, and I think this is mostly related to 2 things, to the exchange rate and to the interest rate as well. So how do we push these curves to look upwards is what we need to all think about and work together on. Next slide, please. This is, sorry, the one, this is the one on your left is the currency, is the naira to the dollar, and this is what has happened in the last, we all know this, how it happened. The one on the right, the bar chart, is the inflows into manufacturing in Nigeria, the foreign direct investment into manufacturing. It has gone significantly lower than it was before. Next, please. And the share of manufacturing is the light blue, so it's a very small share of manufacturing in an industry in the GDP of Nigeria is 12%. If you go to Germany or to North or to South Korea, it is going to be 30-40%. So it is a very, very meager thing. And another shocking statistic is that 15% of the trade of the total continent is intra-African trade. 85% of the trade is with the outside world, and we cannot even trade among ourselves. The president mentioned the AFCTDA, the African Trade Agreement. This has to be developed. I think this has to be prioritized because you have so many countries next door, but you still decide to import from Europe, from the US, or export. It doesn't make sense. Something has to change. Next, please. So these are a few examples of sectors where there is a lot of potential, but it's not really fully achieved, fully developed. Cocoa, seeds, edible fruits, other minerals, rubber, etc. Next, I want to go to actual projects that we, yes, that's it. So this is how we are trying to contribute to the sector, and I would encourage you to think about how can AFC also support you to do your business. So these are we've put 7 examples of projects that, these are only private sector investments. We do a lot with the government, with the central bank, but these are only private sector investments. First one is the Arise Industrial Zone that I have mentioned. You will see a full video on it later. Can we go to the next slide, please? So this is an industrial zone in Ogun State that we are building. It will be, it's 5,000 hectares. It will provide everything you need as an industrialist, from water supply, commercial zone, custom duties. There will be a residential zone, storage terminals, liquid terminal, container depot, warehouse, everything. So all you need to do is to come and execute your project. This has been extremely successful. We've done it already in 7 countries. 3 of them are operating in Gabon, in Benin, and in Togo. 4 of them are under construction, including the one in Ogun State. Next, please. This is the Thor Exploration is the gold mine that I have mentioned. It's the first private sector mine. We are the largest investor there. Next. So the Solid Minerals Development Fund of Nigeria came to us and said, there are many people who come and say, we would like a concession for minerals. One of the things that maybe you don't know is that Nigeria, because everyone is focused on oil, Nigeria has one of the largest and best quality lithium deposits in Africa. But no one is looking at mining because oil is sucking up all the energy and all of the investments. So we're trying to diversify the economy and are working with SMDF to work with local developers on developing their mining concessions. Some of them have the money to develop, but haven't developed a mine before. Some of them don't have the legal know-how to negotiate the concession agreement. Some of them have the technical capabilities, but don't have the funding. So we play that role in plugging all these gaps and working in partnership with the developers of these mines and the SMDF. And we are happy to take early stage risk and spend early stage money to get the project to bankability. Next, please. We've invested, we were very large investors in Bua sugar refinery in Nigeria. Next. And their cement plant as well. Next. This is an interesting one because, as I said, infrastructure is needed. You cannot have an infrastructure project, an industrial project without the infrastructure around it, whether it's power, roads, etc. We have invested with a Nigerian company, Mainstream, to upgrade two existing hydropower dams that are now supplying not only Nigeria and Niger, and they have transformed that region in terms of industry. And there is also a new project that they are undertaking, which is the privatization of the Zungeru Dam, 750 megawatts, and we're supporting them in that as well. Next. And then finally, I think the Dangote refinery, where we have invested both in the construction of the refinery and also in the working capital facility so that they can import the crude for the trials and the commissioning and be able to test the equipment before it's fully operational in 2024, 2025. Next, please. Is this the last one? Yes. So this is the last slide. I think there are a few things that I would like to stress on. You have inflation, you have high interest rates, you have a foreign currency that is not very stable, you have lack of clarity of policies, procedures, you have a weak infrastructure. And if you look at that, it makes you feel that, you know what, there's no hope. But on the other hand, you have 250 million human beings. You have a massive market. You are on the coast. You are 6 days away from the US by ship. You are 7 or 8 days away from Europe, compared to 3 to 4 weeks from China. Nigeria has oil. All this gas that is being flared, it has to be captured. The industry, you have good engineers. We have lithium, cobalt, copper. There's so much that is working for our countries, all of Africa and Nigeria specifically, that our view and our proof is that we have demonstrated that you can be successful in overcoming the challenges. But the key thing is how do you partner with the right people? How do you influence the government to have clarity on the policies? And how to find ways to reduce your cost of borrowing and find the right project that is a priority for the country and for the people of the country. I want to thank you very much for your attention. This has been a very quiet audience, so that's very good. I will play, if possible, if we can play a video of our industrial zone in Ogun State, and then happy to take questions if you like. Thank you.
Capital Assurance PLC, Dr. Adeola Odutola. Please, a round of applause for the doctor, rather. And also we have the Consul General of India, Mr. Chandramouli Khan. A round of applause for him. Thank you so much. We're happy to have you. And finally, I'd like to acknowledge a man who thought to me to ensure that people respond when I greet. Is no other person than the Director General, National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPS. Please put your hands together for Professor Ayo Motayo. Thank you. And when he's waving, you should wave too, because if you have the opportunity to hold the mic, it will be something different. Thank you so much, Professor Ayo. It's always a pleasure having you at our event. So right now, we'll take questions. If you'd like to ask questions based on the presentation, we'll take numbers. Okay, so you're number 1, sir. Number 2. Number 3, Mr. Kojafa. Number 4, Engineer Onyebu. Okay, number 5, Engineer Saleh. Number 6, Mr. DK. Number 7, Mr. Kutei. 7? All right, so that is the end. After that 7, we can't take any more questions. Thank you so much. So number one.
Please, kindly just remember
this is
your
number 1 in front
and then
of
I'll
you.
come to you.
Yes.
Good organization is looking at the opportunity, because I'm part of a committee in Kano State that is seeking for investors to invest in independent power plant and also in industrial area along the corridors of the gas pipe.
60% of perishable foods perish on the roads. We only have 2.5%, 0.2%.
We're very keen to look at any infrastructure solution around the pipeline and in the ecosystem, whether it is the power plant or any of the investments around it. Happy to have a conversation. My colleagues are here just next to you. You can talk to them. On our friend from Kano, I'll start with the access point. How do you access AFC? So if you don't send me an email today, then it's on you. Good. Just for you to know, I have not mentioned our public sector investments. We are the largest investor in the Kano-Maradi rail line that is being developed now. But this is with government. I only mentioned the private sector. So what you've mentioned and what the colleague has mentioned is how do we get access to the markets? We're also tackling it with the government as well. Large scale, look, we access the markets through two ways. One is to invest with the largest players or with the large players, I agree with you, but also the video that you have seen provides an industrial zone for any size of business. So for example, I was just in similar industrial zone in Benin, but it's already operating only 2 weeks ago. I have seen textile manufacturers that are, you could say you're in Germany, you're not in Africa. It was such top quality. Next to it, there was a cashew nut processor and manufacturer roasting the cashew nuts, packaging them, that has put hundreds of thousands of dollars in a project, and they're in the industrial zone. So what we're trying to do is to grow the mid to large size businesses and support them, but also provide the infrastructure for the smaller size as well. So it's quite open. We might not invest directly into a small business, but we have subsidiaries that will invest into the smaller businesses. Exports. This is for the gentleman in the textiles industry. It's, in my view, this is the key thing for our success. The priority is to, and this is what we always do, we look at what are we good at? What do we have? So for example, Nigeria has a lot of oil, has a lot of gas, has a lot of lithium. I'll tell you a very interesting story about also a small business in Togo and Benin. Togo and Benin are very well known for cashew nuts. What used to happen was that the farmers used to get medium-sized aggregators. They aggregate all the cashews and they export the cashews to Europe. The problem was that 30% of these cashew nuts were broken, and the European market would not accept them. So what we have done in our industrial zone is that we created a huge aggregation player that aggregates all the cashew nuts, so that instead of you as being a small or medium farmer negotiating with the Europeans, you have one entity that has a huge amount of, a huge negotiating position. But then you came to the problem that only 70% of these cashew nuts are accepted in Europe, so you're throwing away 30%. So what we have done is that we negotiated, in India, they use a lot of cashew nuts in their cooking, and they don't need it to be all in one piece. They can buy the broken cashew nuts. So we exported the 30% cashew nuts to India, and 70%, the broken ones, and 70% to Europe. The profit margin of that 30% made the whole economics work. If you are a medium-sized player that are dealing with the international markets on your own, it's much harder to do this. So that's why we build our industrial zones, so that we aggregate different players together.
Thank you very much, sir, for that. The next number.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for the very interesting and down-to-earth lecture. My name is Engineer Frank Onyebu here in Lagos. The impression I've always had, and I'm sure a lot of people here have that impression, is that AFC and other such institutions deal with only the government and maybe very large industrial concerns. I'm happy to hear that other people, you can also listen to them. I'm hoping that you will, and I don't know the level of your participation. But my real question is on the power sector. How can you help the very dilapidated power sector in Nigeria. If, for instance, an industrial cluster wants to establish a power plant, or if man, because man has a power holding, if man as a body approaches you with that intention that they want to establish power plants for industrial clusters, are you willing to participate in that kind of venture? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Number 5. Please just indicate by raising your hand so I can find you. Okay, I'm coming to you now.
Thank you for the very good presentation. You have already answered 2 of my questions. So I also want to know how to access. So I would also like to have your card after when you answer the question. I want to know whether you invest in both equity and loan. And if it is in loan, because of the volatility of Naira to dollars, how are you going to hedge on that risk in currency fluctuation? Or you convert into local currency at the day of disbursement? So these are my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. We'll give time to respond, or should we take another?
My name is Dike Onwameze of this day newspaper. Sir, in your presentation, you said that Nigerian manufacturing sector is at a turning point. I want to know from you, where is this turning point heading to, and what is propelling it?
You attract a lot of investments, and that's happy to look at an opportunity there. On the equity and debt position, we do both. We invest in equity and debt. Our balance sheet is around 20 to 23% equity, our portfolio, and the rest, 80% is about debt. We are a dollar investor, so currency is an issue we need to think of. However, we've been thinking is about local. Look, as I said at the end, you have big issues, you have currency issues, you have cost of funding issues, you have policy issues, but you also have, in my view, for example, if you look at the technology sector, you have the brightest young people who, the technology sector is thriving in Nigeria. And I'm very proud to see that there are big companies like Google, like Microsoft, like others, that are trying to establish a presence here, or that are trying to contract with people here. So I think the potential is here. If you, for example, reduce the gas flaring, so going back to the power sector, if you restructure the power sector, if you capture the gas that is being flared, if you add value to your local raw materials, then the turning point is upwards. And I'm very convinced that it is upwards, because if we all have the ingredients to succeed. Yes, there are challenges, but since when there's life without challenges? Thank you.
Much for those laudable feedback. So we take number 7, Mr. Kutei, and number 8, Mrs. Akpan, and that ends the question session.
Good afternoon. My name is Duro Kutei. My company is Spectra Industries Limited, and I represent the interests of the SME. And you talk very well with all the projects you have done. And you have also encouraged us to go into intra-African trading, which we agree with you. But the most unfortunate thing is, how do we take our goods to Sierra Leone, to Libya or Liberia and other West African countries to start with, when there is no shipping line, and man will be very, very interested in working with you to establish a shipping line that can serve these areas. At present, if I want to send something to Sierra Leone, it will go to UK before coming back, and that's no business. And it should be done in such a way that it can also carry passengers from Nigeria to other West African countries. Then you will now see the success of African trade. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Number 8, Mrs. Kama Akpan. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, I assume that I'm the only woman speaking today. And it is positive.
Yes.
Women constitute 49-point-something% of the workforce, and therefore they should be represented. Well, I'm really intrigued by a lot of the things you said, but I didn't get much on the renewable energy and the waste that we can use and also make something for power. Nigeria presently wastes 27.6 million tonnage of waste, out of which they can only manage 20%. And that waste, recently, Singapore said they used it to build their roads. They converted it to power, so no waste. And we have opportunity for the small businesses to also conserve some of their waste, also to sell. I read somewhere that the richest woman in India is a waste collector. So I wonder what you can do to help the small businesses so that mothers can stay at home and carry their waste to a center and get some money from it. And then from it, we can generate local waste, local power, and then use it for what we need without having to go to the expensive cost of bringing international people to do our roads. That's my question. Waste and SMEs.
Thank you.
Women. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And finally, we'll just give room for our former president, Chief Kola Jamodu, GCFR, to make a comment. And
Okay. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. You didn't say ex-president, because you referred to some of us here, maybe your colleague, as ex-DJs, ex of former. If there is a big difference between ex and a former. So I just wanted to bring that up.
I would love to learn, sir.
I will do that later,
All
because
right.
we haven't got time. Thank you very much indeed. I've listened with rapt attention to your presentation, which was very apt to the point. However, you ended by showing a pictorial. You call it industrial zones, which I look at it, call it industrial zones. It could be export processing zones. And I want to tell you that today, that one of the biggest problems of a local manufacturer are the activities of investors in export processing zones. They have all the benefits, they don't pay taxes. They are supposed to export their finished products and sell abroad and bring in foreign currency. It started with 100%, it got reduced to about 40, 50. I don't even know how much it is today. What's your experience in that area? I brought this up because I don't want it, a Home Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, not to show this, showcase as one of the big problems being faced by manufacturers today. well-intentioned by government, but they got derailed. And it's now a very big challenge to manufacturers. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Thank
sir.
you.
All right, sir, you can respond to all the questions.
Okay, thank you very much for the questions. On the question on the shipping lines, I think it's a very good idea, but I think the bigger challenge is building the ports rather than the shipping lines. So you have to start with the infrastructure so that you can be able to receive the ships. And that's what we have done, we're doing now. We've built 5 ports. We are looking at a port in Nigeria, but it's a bit challenging. It's taking a bit of time. Shipping lines we have not invested in shipping lines before, but we have partners who do, and we can introduce you to them. But we mostly invest in the infrastructure around it, which is mainly ports. On the question, so women represent 49% of the labor force, but 70–80% of the brains. So, but I'll tell you, waste to energy is a very interesting topic. We have one power project in Rwanda that uses peat, and another power project that we're looking at in Côte d'Ivoire for cocoa. The problem with waste to energy is not the power. The problem is the collection. And if you collect enough quantities, then you will be able to build a power plant. Now, the bigger challenge is that once you build the power plant, as a producer of power, you are under the mercy of the suppliers of the waste. And you have to secure the legal documentation that gives you a steady price and a steady quantity. Because if you don't, then in 2–3 years' time, the power plant is built, and the only source of the waste is 1 or 2 suppliers. If they start playing games or changing the prices, you're stuck. So that's the part that I think people need to think of. How do you secure the supply long-term and the pricing long-term, so that you're not stuck with a power plant and then the suppliers of the raw material take you hostage? On the former president, not the ex-president, the former president's point, there's no direct solution for this. If people are using, so if I understand the question correctly, that people are setting up in industrial zones that are set up for export, and they get the benefits, but then they end up not exporting and competing with the local players, right? This is a government thing. You have to, you set the rules, but you have to impose them as well. The question is, if I was a government official, I'd say, if I see your product inland, you lose all the benefits. But today, I am not a policymaker. I cannot find a solution. But this is something that needs to be lobbied with the government, because it's very unfair to the people who are not exporting to be competing with someone who's not paying taxes or custom duties. So it's a policy.
Speak directly to that. He is the Consul General of India. He's going to make a comment, goodwill message in a few minutes. Maybe you want to touch on that. Please, a round of applause for Chandramole Ken as he comes forward. A round of applause for him. Thank you.
Even in development of local manufacturing in Nigeria, we can provide you with component and we can provide other technical expertise. There are more.
If he greets you, please do well to respond. I'm telling you for your own sake. Distinguished guests, let's put our hands together for the Director General NIPS, Professor Ayo Omotayo, as he comes to address us at this event. Please put your hands together for him. Yes, my namesake, Professor Ayo Omotayo. You're welcome, DG.
Good afternoon, participants of 52nd Annual General Meeting of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. I'm going to greet us once more because I came all the way from Kuru in Jos, and then one of the things we have been telling Nigerians is that when you are greeted, you at least must answer. And if I don't get enough people answering me, I'm going to leave the stage. It is not a threat. Good afternoon, participants.
Good afternoon, sir.
Now, we use participants because it is easier to say participants than to say ladies and gentlemen. At least we are using fewer words. Now, before I continue, let me just say that I'm excited to be addressing an audience where Chief Kola Jamudu is seated. Sir, I'm so excited that you are here. I mean, anybody that cares about manufacturing in Nigeria will know that you have done a whole lot, and I would have loved to meet you. I think you need to give him a round of applause. Now, before I go on further, please permit me to ask a gentleman amongst us to please stand up, and I will say why I'm saying this. Because several years ago, exactly 40 years ago, when I was an undergraduate at the University of Ibadan, I was a member of Jesse Benson Dauta. Can you please stand up for recognition? Let me say, he's a fantastic young man. As children then, we used to look up to you. You gave very inspiring speeches, and then you made us have hope in Nigeria. I thank you once again for your services to the Nigerian youth system. Thank you very much. I'm happy to have you here. Now, we have the gentleman from African Finance Corporation speaking very boldly about Nigeria. And I think sometimes in August, we were supposed to have an engagement with African Finance Corporation, but it did not happen because of the demonstrations at that time. And I'm sure that we have written a letter back to your organization, and hopefully we'll be meeting with your organization soon. Now, what are the challenges of manufacturing? Let me say this. Since I became the Director General of the National Institute, one of the things we have been doing, one of the things we knew, is that if we are going to pursue the New Hope agenda of the current president, which requires that we grow our economy at a very astronomical rate, we have to do something strong about manufacturing. And we have been in agreement and been working hard with the leadership of MAN to ensure that manufacturing takes its pride of place. What are the challenges of manufacturing? We know we are challenged by lack of power. We are challenged by policy somersaults. We are challenged by Nigeria's sentimental and emotional approach to businesses. And of course, we are challenged by an unstructured market. And I'm sure part of your discussions today would have looked into all of those. But one thing I've told the leadership of MAN is that they have a duty to Nigeria to ensure that we grow manufacturing at 25%. If we fail to grow manufacturing at 25% year on year for the next 5 years, we will not achieve the objective of getting 6% GDP growth. We at NIPS, we have carried out several studies, and we know that if manufacturing actually fires itself up, manufacturing can contribute 6% growth by itself. 6% growth by itself. And if manufacturing does 6% growth by itself, certainly we can even get as much as 12% GDP growth year on year. It is very achievable. We have the population, we have the people to achieve this. We know that we are challenged by several things, and of course, some of us who were in Abuja about 2 months ago will recall that NIPS participated fully in your rethinking manufacturing agenda. We have put together the report, and we are going to talk to policymakers. Yes, we know very well that the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investments have actually not accorded manufacturing its right of place. But with a new minister coming in place, we are sure that the gear will change. Somebody mentioned that where are we turning to? I remember that question, but I'm telling you, sir, that manufacturing is going to turn the bend for good. We are going to, I'm not a manufacturer and I'm saying we, but because I've been working with you guys for so long, we are going to ensure that manufacturing provides all the jobs that our youth require. All of the countries, yes, all of the countries we talk about, they have manufacturing going on. That's where most of the jobs are. It's not in services. Because if manufacturing does not do well, services can only just struggle. If manufacturing does well, services can then follow. Everybody here that is a manufacturer is a very important component of Nigerian development. I am very sure that by the time we get manufacturing going, Nigeria will certainly get off its feet and run the race for a better economy. Once more, I thank you for inviting me, and we will continue to work with MAN to ensure that we are trade zone, the export processing zones. The questions are very simple. Why are we concentrating so much on export when we are almost importing everything? We have not finished producing things for ourselves, but we are looking forward to producing at any foreign exchange. Most of the dollars we lose today go to importing. So we are looking at the effectiveness of those export processing zones to see if they're actually contributing to the economy the way we want it. And to our brother from the African Finance Corporation, we are also looking at the resource governance in Africa. You spoke about cashew. We are at a point where we are asking ourselves as Africans, must we export raw materials? If we continue to export raw materials at the rate at which we are going, we will never take off, because we need to begin to process our raw materials. I'm excited that they are looking at cashew. We must look at cocoa. We must add other products that we must never export out of Nigeria without adding value. It is when we have done this that we can add value to manufacturing, add value to our country, and see Nigeria change. The New Hope agenda is about doing things differently, and I'm sure things will be done differently in Nigeria. Finally, this is a challenge to Nigerian manufacturers. Please take this on board. Let us set up a study. Go to Nigeria, take the 10 top supermarkets in Nigeria. List the number of products that are being sold there that are actually manufactured in Nigeria. You will discover that we are not doing enough. A whole lot of opportunities still exist. Let us, by ourselves, decide that if 100 products are being imported into Nigeria to our supermarkets, what can we do to ensure that our supermarkets carry Nigerian-made products? I have the belief that we can achieve this. By the time 90% of the products in our supermarkets are manufactured in Nigeria, then I will believe that manufacturing is doing very well. I wish us well, and I believe that this is the time. Manufacturers, this is your time. Manufacturer, you must contribute to Nigerian development. Do not be the crybaby of any of our economic sector. You have a DG that is sewn into that and is done so much to ensure that manufacturing is lifted up in Nigeria. All that we need to do is to support him, support the leadership of MAN, and ensure that we take manufacturing to where it ought to be. I wish us all very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Please, a round of applause for Professor Ayo Omotayo for that address. So I can't be saying this to the DG of NIPS, but when a professor is speaking and he says finally, you should expect the finally 2 more times before it ends. But those were keywords and a centric message for the manufacturing sector. And we do appreciate all that NIPS is doing to ensure that Nigeria's economy blossoms. All right, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are fast coming to an end of this very, very important event. One thing I'd like to reiterate is that the Manufacturers Energy Security Summit, coming up November 19 to 21, 2024, is an event that we all should take advantage of. Good enough, the venue is the Lagos Oriental Hotel, and since we are speaking to how we could create energy to have sustainable businesses, then this is a must attend for every manufacturer. We have energy investors coming from far and near to attend to all your needs, and it would be nice to have you in full numbers. Mr. Owe Mbasam, are you in the room? Or Mr. Ambrose Oruche, kindly wave if you'd like to seek further clarification. Mr. Ambrose Oruche, can we see you forward? Him or see Mr. Owe Mbasam for additional information. November 19 to 21, we look forward to seeing you at this venue. Having done that, I'd like to invite the president to please step forward. He would be making two presentations. One to the representative of government, who would be delivering, Mr. President, please come to the stage, who would be receiving on behalf of His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And next, I have the honor of inviting our distinguished guest speaker, who is here represented by the Executive Director and Chief Investment Officer at Africa Finance Corporation, a man who has done an excellent job. Please put your hands together for Mr. Samer Shinoda as he comes to receive on behalf of the guest speaker.
Thank you so much. On behalf of the Council and the entire member of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, we appreciate your presence. We enjoyed the lecture. You have provided insight into things that we didn't know before, and that prompted many questions. You can see that you are very passionate in growing our sector, and we appreciate your support to African in general and manufacturing private sector in particular. This is apparent from what you have learned from you. I can be rest assured that most of our members will join. I will come along to ask questions how they can be onboarded in this your large portfolio. We thank you, and this is for the President and CEO of AFC, Mr. Samaila Subaru. Tell him that you appreciate him being the distinguished guest speaker.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So while the president and the guest speaker is still here, Mr. Guest Speaker, sir, please remain. We'll just have a quick group photograph. Let's seize this moment. So let's have all our dignitaries on the white chairs. Let's have you come out to have a photograph. We'll take it in batches. We'll also have a set with members of the EXCO. Let's move this to the side. I want to keep people sorry. Okay. So we'll have everybody seated on the white chair first. The Egyptian, please, sir, kindly join them. Oh, the Indian guy. All right, so after this, we'll take another batch, and that would be the presidents, the guest speaker, former presidents at this event, the director general will take this next set. All right, so after this, we'll have the president, the director general, former president of MAN here, the guest speaker. Mr. Abdulkadri, please hold on a moment. You will join another set. Please bring it down, madam. Then after this set, Mr. Abdulkadri and the representative of the governor of Cross River will join the president, the DG, and the guest speaker. So our former presidents can please go to their seats. The representative of the Honorable Minister of Finance, please, let's have you quickly. After which we'll have members of the Executive Council of Man present. Please come. We'll have members of the Executive Council of Man present. After which, let's have you stand by. After which we'll have members of the OPS. Then we'll have members of the Council of Man. After members of the council, we'll have the president, the DG, with major representative of major sponsors at this event. All right, so thank you. Let's have members. The guest speaker can have his seat. DG, President, please remain. Let's have members of EXCO present. Other members of EXCO present. Other members of EXCO present. Please, let's have you join this group photograph. After this set, we'll have members of the council, all members of Council of Man present. After the EXCO, we'll have council. This is EXCO now. After EXCO, we'll have council. After council, we'll have OPS representative here. That is after council. After OPS representatives, yes, EXCO, please. After EXCO, members of council. After EXCO, members of council, please kindly join them. Members of council. After members of council, we'll have OPS representative present. After OPS representative, we'll have former DGs of Man present. Former Director General of Man present. We'll have after the council photograph. Council now. After council, we'll have former Director General present, and Mr. Olajide should also join the former DGs. Mr. Olajide should also join. After that set, we'll have all directors, all heads of department of this association. After that, we'll have all members of the Central Planning Committee of the annual general meeting. Then after which, we'll have all man staff present. Please, let's follow that order. We're trying to save time. After council, we'll have OPSN. After OPSN, we'll have former DGs of Man, and the first pioneer staff of the association will join the former DGs. That's Mr. Tunji Olajide. After that, we'll have all heads of department of the association. After the heads of the department, we'll have all members of the Central Planning Committee of the annual general meeting. After which, we'll have all man staff, all secretariat staff, all man staff in general. Please come close to the front. So we'll now have OPSN. OPSN now. President LCCI. After OPSN, we'll have former DGs. So let's quickly have the OPSN. OPSN, please. OPSN. Please, the event is not over yet. The DG will still give the vote of thanks, after which our dignitaries will tour the exhibition area. So we're having OPSN. Okay, let's have former DGs. Please, let's have you, if we can have OPSN. Okay, you are here. Okay, please, sir, OPSN. Please, we are having OPSN now. Representative of OPSN, President of LCCI. Okay, so let's have this. After this, we'll have the ex-DGs of Man. Okay, it's coming. The President of LCCI is coming. OPSN representative, please come. After OPSN representative, we'll have all ex-director generals, including the pioneer staff of the association, Mr. Tunji Olajide. Please, the event is not over yet. Kindly bear with us. All right, then we'll have all ex-director generals, inclusive of Mr. Olatunji, the pioneer staff. Then after which, all heads of... Please take them. Then we'll have all heads of division. All heads of division, please, let's move closer. We want to have this as fast as possible. After all heads of division, we'll have all members of the Central Planning Committee. Please, let's be close to the stage. We don't want to waste time. So, all DGs, let's come. Let's have you. Thank you so much. We appreciate your presence at this event. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure having you. So, we'll have this photograph. Okay, so all ex-DGs. Let's have this photograph, after which all heads of division of man. After heads of division, we have members of the Central Planning Committee. Please beckon to all members of staff. If you are sitting far, come close to the entry points. We want to make this as snappy as possible. Directors and heads of division. Members of the Central Planning Committee, after which I can see Ego, I can see Ifoma at the back. Please come forward. Come forward now. After this, we'll have members of the Central Planning Committee. After this set, we'll have members of the Central Planning Committee. As a matter of fact, we will just join because all heads of division are members of the... So after this, Madam Honor, please come. Then all staff. Once we have this set, we can't do. Mrs. Omar Jalaibi, are you with us or against us? Barrister, please, all staff. CPC first, then we'll have all members of staff. This is CPC. Then all members of staff, let's have this quickly. All members of staff, please join. Please, the event is not over yet. We still have the Director General to do the vote of thanks. We do the tour exhibition area. All members of staff. Let's have this quickly, please. All members of staff. Yeah, this is the last one. All members of staff. Especially those carrying nylon. Chisom. All right, thank you. Are you done with this set? All right, thank you. Members of staff, let's have you go to your seat. The Director General will at this point give the vote of thanks, after which the President would lead dignitaries to tour the exhibition area. Then we sit down and we have the lunch as we said.
Please, can we step down? Who has this? Please, can we have some quiet?
Please, let's settle down.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to start by riding on the saying of Clement Stone that if you are really thankful, what do? You share. So from all of us at the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, I wish to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our special guest of honor, His Excellency President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, who was eventually aptly represented by the lone and able representative of the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister for the Economy. We are honored by your acceptance of our invitation to the 4th Adeola Odutola lecture, being a high point of our 52nd annual general meeting.
Please, can we all listen to the Director General? He's giving the vote of thanks. Thank you.
The presentation of the Finance Minister and CME is reassuring and has ignited a fervent hope that better days are ahead for the beleaguered Nigerian manufacturing sector. You have reiterated the administration's commitment to the growth and development of manufacturing in Nigeria, and we are full of expectations that the recommendations coming out of this lecture, particularly the low-hanging fruits in the form of investment in power sector and what is needed to be done to the existing policy framework to make it attractive. Just as Ralph Emerson rightly alluded, the finest speakers are those who can make their audience feel as though they are thinking their own thoughts. Our distinguished guest speaker made us feel great today. Mr. Sumaila Zubeiru's able representative has graciously shared his profound insight and expertise with us today. Mr. Shame Shenoda has just done justice to the subject matter. Our advocacy radar has garnered deep content today, and we assure you that we shall make judicious use of your recommendations as we engage government with the outcomes of this prestigious lecture. We also express our sincere appreciation to the Honorable Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, for accepting our invitation. He was ably represented by a dear friend of the association, Alhaji Abdullahi Bashir, the Director of Technical Services of the ministry. We have enjoyed close collaboration with the ministry, and we are thankful for the supportive fiscal policy measures emanating from your ministry and your due recognition of our input on the Presidential Economic Coordinating Council. To our esteemed members of the Diplomatic Corps and Development Partner Agencies, earlier acknowledged, we thank you for the cooperation you have always extended to our association and for honoring us with your attendance. To our partners, the Directors General and leaders of departments and agencies of government, including the Director General of NIPS, Director General of Raw Material Research and Development Council, Mr. Amids, the Southwestern Regional Coordinator who represented the DG of NEPC and that of SMIDAN. We applaud you for coming and for cooperating with us at all times. You have extended cooperation to our members as well as joining us in efforts to improve our business operations. Our fellow members of the organized private sector of Nigeria, namely Dr. Ifeanyi Okoye, MNI, the president of NECA, Mr. Gabriel Idahosa, FCA, the president of LCCI, Mr. Olaniyi Yusuf, the chairman of NESG, my brother Shola Obadimu, director general of NASIMA, and another brother, Haman Kwajafa, the DG of NTMA. We have always enjoyed the pleasure of your company and we deeply appreciate the bond that we share. We are grateful to members of the academia, our consultants and partners for joining us today. To our esteemed past presidents who have continued to grace our AGM with their dignified presence, we are blessed with President Ambassador Hassan Adamu, CON, the Wakili Adamawa. We are blessed with Chief Kola Jamodu, CON, and Engineer Mansour Ahmed, OFR. We are happy to have you in our midst, and we are very grateful for always seeing you because you inspire us in so many ways. To our past Directors General,
This is the highest attendance we've ever had. We had Mr. Jide Mike. We had Mr. Yinka Akonde. We are really very happy to have Mr. Rashid Adegbenro. And to my boss, since I joined the organization, Mr. Olajide, we are happy to see you. We remain grateful for the foundation and leadership legacy you have left behind and assure you of our commitment to moving the needle much faster. To our abiding partners in the media, we thank you for always being there for us and giving us the unbiased and supportive reportage. Without you, our advocacy is likened to the often quoted adage of winking at a lady in the dark. You know what you are doing, but no one else does. We look forward to no less coverage of this spectacular 3-day, 52nd AGM. We remain indebted to our gallant sponsors and donors who made all this possible and colorful. Your continued support has made our AGM a most memorable reunion, and we thank you for being exceptional members and for always making us proud. An event like this takes a lot of careful planning and long hours of work. I'm fortunate to have the cooperation and dedication of colleagues who work tirelessly to make this event possible and memorable. It has been a tasking one, and I thank you for your endurance and steadfastness. I owe you special appreciation as the chairman of our hardworking AGM Central Planning Committee. I fully express my appreciation to you and all staff of MAN for keeping the focus on the man of the future. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we draw the curtain on our 52nd AGM and the 4th Adeola Odutola Lecture and Presidential Luncheon, I differ to the words of Brian, an Australian television writer and film producer, who said that gratitude will shift you to higher frequency and you attract much better things. To this end, I express the hope that all our internal and external stakeholders present here today will readily offer a supportive hand whenever we call on them to do so. We need your partnership to ensure an intentional development of the manufacturing sector and an inclusive growth of our economy and the improvement of the well-being of our citizenry. I thank you all for honoring us with your esteemed presence and wish you safe journeys to your various destinations. May God bless you all and keep you in good health, sound mind, and prosperous endeavors. Thank you, and God bless you.
Before they have their lunch. All distinguished guests, we're pleased to announce the presence of the CEO of TVC, Mrs. Ajayi. Please, a round of applause for her. Thank you so much for joining us. They received us warmly when we visited them at the station, and we're happy to have you. Thank you, ma'am. On that note, let's kindly be on our feet as we observe the national anthem. We would wait for the dignitaries to file out to tour the exhibition area. We all remain seated, show our meal tickets to have our lunch. Thank you. The national anthem, please. The national anthem. Is this a sign for us to continue? All right, let's sing this. All right, 1, 2, go. And God bless Nigeria. God bless the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to congratulate you for a successful annual general meeting. The president would lead our dignitaries on the tour of the exhibition, but please, let's kindly remain on our seats. The ushers will come to pick you table by table. Showing your meal ticket, you have your lunch. So our dignitaries will file out now for the tour of the exhibition area. Thank you for your amazing cooperation. It was an honor being the master of ceremonies. And my partner, Nanzin Ridwan, we say thank you. God bless you, and safe journeys to your various destinations. Thank you.